Hello everyone, can you hear me now? I hope you can. I'm gonna put up my phone number so you can tell me if you are hearing me or not. Welcome to the 2016 Daron's Guitar Chronicles Kickstarter live chat. I'm gonna be on for an hour. I'm gonna take questions. I got some questions in advance that people emailed to me and texted to me and whatnot, and then you can also text me. That's my number there. Whether you're hearing the audio okay, I can see my levels, but sometimes it doesn't, YouTube doesn't always work the way you want, or just text me a question, and we'll see how it goes. I'm going to update you first on the whole business of the Kickstarter. I think we're, unfortunately, we did not make 3,000 before this chat started, so I guess if we can still make it by the time this chat ends at 10 p.m., Daron will still chat, but we're still $96 short, $94 short, something like that. So, but who knows, maybe some things will come in when you guys will watch the Kickstarter page and see if new things come in. That would be great. Anyway, so, hi. Let's see, should I start with questions first? I guess I should start with questions first. I guess the big news of today that hit early in the afternoon was that Prince had died. A friend of mine in the Midwest had actually, I was watching Twitter, had forwarded a thing saying that a dead body had been recovered from Paisley Park, but no other information, and it's sort of like, it's bad when they don't tell you anything. So, and then within an hour it was confirmed, and just shocking. And I haven't heard the diagnosis or anything, but I guess he was hospitalized earlier this month. Had to land his private plane at one point while he was on tour, then performed the next day and said he was fine, and then they said he had the flu, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know. 57 years old, and to have Prince and David Bowie both go in the same, like within 3-4 months of each other, it's pretty staggering. As some of you may have seen, Ziggy commented today on today's chapter, burns everything down. I mean, just when David Bowie died, Ziggy really had his soul torn out, and because it's still out there, now he's just enraged. And Daron feels more or less the same, but he's less emotive, so. Well, Ziggy is actually taking an axe to everything. Daron is just sitting in a corner feeling like taking an axe to everything, but that's how they are. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about Prince. I'm going to talk about some rewards for the Kickstarter. We're going to talk about music. We're going to talk about the music business. We're going to talk about writing. We're going to talk about anything you guys want to talk about. There's a little chat window alongside the YouTube thing, so if you're watching live, you should be able to also chat with me there. Yep, I can see some people talking to me there. So text a question if you want your question to be private, though, and you don't want everyone in the chat to see it. I'm going to take my phone number down now, though, so that you guys are not staring at it the whole time. You do have to stare at my face the whole time, though, except when I put up other faces. Like, I realize I still have Dave Navarro from a previous chat was still loaded in the thing here, so hi, Dave. Just a little eye candy for everyone, right? His eyeliner is much, much thicker than mine. I just have guyliner, I don't have the whole thing. But he's much, much more beautiful than I am. Hey, okay, I can see a bunch of people in the chat window. So I can't always watch the chat window, so if you feel like I've missed your question, poke me, text me. That's why I gave you my number. Whatnot like that. It doesn't ding or give me noises, because then you would be having to listen to them, and I don't want everyone to have to listen to it. So, but yeah. So, I got one of the first question that somebody sent me after I had first posted that I was going to do this chat was I'll quote, "This might be a weird question, but is it weird for you now that Daron and Ziggy are getting along?" And that's because we're at a point in the story, for those of you who are not following, the slight spoilers, but we're at a section where they seem to be getting along. They've gotten over some of the fights they were having. They're working together somewhat. They're having regular sex without like massive amounts of drama in between each time. So is it weird? It is a little weird, I guess, in that a lot of the forward momentum in the story right now, instead of being like will Daron and Ziggy ever start getting along? It's like, well, actually, so at the moment, at least they're getting along. But you guys know there's a lot of stuff hanging over them. There's still a lot of unresolved issues about various things. There's, I mean, it's Daron's world, so there are always some unresolved issues. But, they still haven't quite figured out exactly how is the dynamic going to work when they're on tour. They're trying to put together this band with all different musicians, some of whom they know, some of whom they don't know. They're trying to, they still haven't, I guess, still hasn't been determined. Is Colin coming with them on the tour? And is that some kind of a thing gonna happen there or not? I mean, or not, I don't know. I will find out probably shortly before you guys find out, like maybe up to 2 weeks before you guys find out. But I don't write that far ahead, and I have a lot of plans, but characters do not always do what you think they're going to when you make plans. So, my plans are like plot points are things like they go on tour. What they talk about on the bus on the way to the venue, though, I don't know. That kind of thing. So it's like, I don't know. I find out a lot of stuff right along with you guys. And then sometimes I really think that they're going to have an argument or that something's going to happen, and then they don't do that. Especially with Daron and Ziggy, who are the two characters who have the most depth and who I know the best, but who are the most likely to surprise me. So sometimes I just don't know. But yeah, so it's a little weird only in that the driving force of the story now is not like the magnetic pull between the two of them, because right now they're stuck together like glue. I mean, I think I just described maybe last chapter Daron, Ziggy wrapped around Daron like a glitter-covered octopus. So, so they're getting along pretty well right at the moment. Even if there is some tension, obviously. I mean, in today's chapter, Ziggy kind of says without saying, I know there's something going on, or that there was something going on between you and this saxophone player. Like Ziggy knows it right away. His antenna go up. He's like, oh, that's how it is. Like he just knows. And Daron knows that he knows, and so they almost didn't talk about it, except then they did talk about it. So, it's like they skip right to already having talked about it. Like I don't know. That's kind of fun, actually. But I'm hoping that they aren't going so fast that the rest of us are missing what they're talking about, actually. But, we'll catch up at some point, I'm sure. There's always so much going on in every chapter that, that you can miss stuff. And then I love to read the comments from people who are rereading, who are on like their third or fourth reread, and they're like, oh my god, I just picked this up. And it's like, yep, that was in there. And then things that some other people picked that same thing up on the first try, but then they missed something else. So, there's just always a lot going on. Let's see. Steph couldn't be with us tonight, so she emailed some questions in advance. One of them was, how did Ziggy's movie do? I think we kind of mentioned that, but, because the story is so told from the Daron filter that anything he doesn't bother to think about very much doesn't stay in the narrative for very long, even though it might be important to us. So, and the upshot was that the movie didn't do terribly well. Like, it did okay, but was not like a huge box office smash, was not a huge critical success. It was kind of panned. But then a lot of movies are panned, just, the best thing to come out of it was probably that his performance was rated good, was rated well. And some critics, of course, are going to be more critical of someone coming from the pop singing world into acting, as, well, are they really an actor, whatever. But of course, Ziggy's a great actor. That's what he does. Ziggy is acting something all of the time, it's just a different level, right? So, I think, and what didn't get talked about much is the song that Moondog 3 had recorded for it did a little bump into the charts, but, because that wasn't on an album, it's like, it's an orphan song, and it may come back later. I mean, I shouldn't say may. Of course it's going to come back later, but everything comes back eventually. So yeah. And my no spoilers thing is still in effect, but I'm gonna try not to spoil you guys on anything. But one of the questions was, what's going on with Janessa and the baby? I can't answer that without, it has to come back into the story for you to find out what's going on with that. And as far as what kind of paternity tests were available in 1991, there were paternity tests available at the time. It wasn't as fancy as the DNA testing we have now, but they had the one thing about it was the couple of kinds of testing there were to do it before the baby's born. There was always a chance that it could jeopardize the fetus, just very small chance, but people did it anyway. So, would do the testing. So, I'll tell you that she does do the testing to find out because Ziggy insists. He's like, if it's my kid, I'm gonna take care of it, but it's not my kid, and you'd better be able to prove it. So let's see. Oh, I think I see some long comments. There must be some questions. You have us trained. We can't all just sit around and enjoy the good moments or waiting for the acts. It wouldn't be exciting if all they did was sit around and play house, and in fact the playing house stuff, I mean, you saw when everything was quote unquote going fine between Daron and Jonathan was like Daron's worst nightmare. So speaking of which, I'm going to read something. I'll wrap up the chat at the end with some reading from the omnibus we're doing the Kickstarter for is books 6 and 7 together. And so in their individual paperback forms, this one's book 6, which is the really, really thick one. And then book 7 was this one, which is also really damn thick, which is why putting the two of them together into one omnibus, I can't fit more than two. It's going to, in the end, that one will be a phone book size a la this one. In fact, it'll be thicker than this. Here's hoping that the U.S. Postal Service makes envelopes big enough, or I will have horribly miscalculated how much postage it's going to take to fulfill these Kickstarter rewards, but we'll see. But yeah, so I've marked off one little chapter, but if you have requests of something you'd like to hear, I am not reading any of the I tried to time out, like, let's see, some of these breakup conversations with Jonathan are kind of interesting. And they were so long because they go through so many levels of, the whole Jonathan relationship is so long that it turned out to be exactly the way it felt to Daron, which is that it's never going to end. And I mean, it does end, obviously, but it's like, it took so long to put them through all the steps that they had to go through to, all the phases of that relationship. I didn't realize how long book 6 was until I printed those paperbacks and was like, holy crap. It really was long. It wasn't just that it felt long, it's that it was really long. But it's a complex relationship, and it's not like just one of these romance novels, whatever, where it's like bam, 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 3 acts and we're done, so because I write those too. I do those too. But let's see. That's what we wanted to know, whether a test would happen if we get an update soon. Hi, Sanders. Yes, so you will be hearing about Janessa pretty soon, after we get done, or probably during the rehearsing and whatnot. So remember, after the rehearsing is done, Daron has to go back on the road with Nomad for another 6 weeks. And then as soon as that's over, they're going to have crash course rehearsals, and then they hit the road. So, it's funny because thinking about whether, like, is this realistic and whatever, I'm currently reading Stevie Salas's autobiography called, what is it called? It's called When We Were the Boys. And it takes place around the same period of time, right around, 1990. And he was a guitar player from Southern California who went in 3 years from driving past an arena where Rod Stewart was playing and telling himself, I'm going to be on that stage in 3 years, to 3 years later being the lead guitarist on this tour with Rod Stewart and all these veteran musicians who hazed him and whatnot, and talking about how basically it's like he got the gig, then they decided, no, actually, you're not ready for it, and they fired him before they started rehearsals, and then one of the other guys in the band quit, and very, very shortly before they went on the road, they called him back and they're like, okay, actually, no, you do have the gig, but now you have 10 days to learn this entire catalog. And, you know, and apparently at the time, Salas was not good at the acoustic guitar. He was only good at the electric guitar. And he was like, literally, like during the audition, the second audition, apparently one of the more experienced guys, you know, took him aside and was basically like, okay, show me how you're going to play this acoustically, and then sent him home to practice for 2 hours while like the rest of them had lunch or whatever, and then said, come back after you've practiced this for 2 hours, and then you got the gig. And it was like, so, you know, like, this is perfectly realistic. they're going to actually have a couple of weeks to rehearse this, you know, but yeah, that's showbiz, man. That's showbiz. So, let's see, looking at my notes are like handwritten on a thing here. And of course, I'm at that age where my eyes don't work at any different, I have to find the right distance. Let's see. So for those of you who are new to the whole Kickstarter thing and are just like, Cecilia's doing a chat, let's check it out. I wanted to, or for those of you who haven't read all the posts and whatnot, and the updates, that's the design from our fantastic cover designer, Gilly Rosenthal, who designed all the previous omnibuses. So the Kickstarter money will go to pay her for doing this, but she thought her idea was, since this is the one where after the breakup with Jonathan, first of all, Ziggy's already in India at the point when this happens, and then, you know, Daron goes on tour with Nomad to Australia and Japan and, you know, whatnot. And then the whole Spain section is in here also. So I thought, well, you know, how about something that has like a road or traveling feel? And she's like, how about a guitar case and put stickers on it and whatever. And I was like, okay. And then she made all these stickers, you know, made them digitally and then, you know, put them on and, I don't know, did Photoshop magic of some kind to make them look wrinkled and distressed and worn out and, you know, whatnot like that. So, super cool. And stuff that I am not the Photoshop whiz, would not be able to do, but I wanted to, and then, you know, for those of you who are new to this whole business, like we're going to do, among the rewards you can get, I've made temporary tattoos. A recent chapter, Daron and Ziggy went to get their first tattoos together. So I got some temporary tattoos people will be able to get. I've got a company that can make custom guitar picks. So they're going to be the regular size of a guitar pick, and you can either get it as a guitar pick or with a little hole, and I'll put chains on them. I have to get the chains from someone else apparently, but so you can wear it as a necklace, and you can always put your own chain through it if you don't like the one I pick. I was going to use silver, just plain silver, but some people would rather have like a little leather string, whatever, that kind of a thing. And then I thought one other thing that would be connected to the story is, of course, Daron wears that t-shirt that has Ziggy's handprint on it, and I thought, all right, I'll actually put something with Daron's Guitar Chronicles on it this time, and you know, instead of just the Moondog 3 logo. Of course, I'm wearing it. Ta-da! I'll do a special run of the classic Moondog 3 t-shirt from the 1989 tour, which we haven't had those in years now because I sold them out long ago. And some people had asked, they're like, is there any way to get another one? Or I wore mine out. so I'm going to do another run of those. Provided that we get to the limit we need to reach for the Kickstarter, which is, we're getting close. So now we're only $449 from reaching the minimum goal, which we have to reach or Kickstarter will give us a 0. So I feel pretty confident that with 7 days left that we can reach that amount. I know there's some people who have been hoping to get a paycheck before they make their pledge and whatnot. Nobody's charged until April 29th, so you can pledge now and be charged. You'll be charged then. And Kickstarter doesn't do it through Amazon charging anymore. They have their own charging, so no more worrying about Amazon accounts. And if you're anti-Amazon, Kickstarter is no longer associated with Amazon. So the only thing that's similar is they both have that green color, you know, right? Hang on a second. screen's going to sleep over here. All right, someone got a question? Will the original tour have the shirt have the tour dates on the back? I believe so. I'm going to try to recreate it exactly as it was. It'll be a little more expensive, but it's only like $1 more per shirt, and I can, if we make our goal, I can handle that. So, so yes, I'm planning for them to be exactly the same as the original ones. Have the tour dates on the back and everything. What was I going to say? The tote bag did not have the tour dates on it. That only had the logo, but no more tote bags. That was then. So you've got to grab your rewards while you can. Let's see. Great. Do you ever feel like you want to jump ahead in the story so you can use some event or tech? Yeah. So a question online, someone's asking, do I ever want to skip ahead? I do have flash forwards sometimes in my mind about what the guys would be like now, or what they would be like 10 years from where we are, or, at different points, what the guys would think about different movies, or, whatever. And let me tell you, Daron would love the way modern stage tech is. And there have been some advances in sound and in public address systems and, whatnot, that are invisible to the audience. If you're a concert goer, it doesn't seem any different to you. You stand there in the audience, or you sit there, and it sounds, loud and sounds good, but there have been leaps and bounds have moved forward. And then just recently, the big changes in stage tech are LED lights, mean that you can have really, really bright, focused lights that are not hot. They don't blast you like the sun, and you can do much more with them, and they don't take anywhere near as much power, so you don't blow out the circuits, by adding more lights. Oh gosh, it's telling me Wirecast has detected feedback and has turned off computer audio output. Computer audio is already off, Wirecast. I don't know. My computer doesn't like me today. I don't know. Hoping the sound's okay. Text me or put in the chat if it goes out, becomes too loud, whatever. I don't know. Maybe when I get too close, it's louder or something. I'm using the same settings as the previous chat, so hopefully it remembers. I don't know. All right, so I promised on Facebook earlier today that I would tell you all about the secret connection between Prince and Daron. And actually, is Bonnie here? I haven't seen who all's in the chat, but Bonnie, who some of you know and who comments from time to time, is my oldest friend and my best friend when I was growing up in New Jersey, and my writing partner in those days. And we did a lot of writing. We did a lot of co-writing of sort of fanfic, and we didn't even call it fanfic in those days. And we did a lot with original characters set in, other settings. Dragon Riders of Pern, the original Battlestar Galactica, stuff we made up, and we had a lot of different sort of let's pretend scenarios going on. And one of them was essentially, we had taken a sort of Battlestar Galactica scenario where we're traveling through space, but after a while, we just used that as sort of our main scenario, and we just translated other stuff into it. So instead of starting a new thing, we would just add stuff. And after we saw Purple Rain, we added a whole thing with, I don't know if you guys are geeks about Battlestar Galactica, but there was an entertainment ship called the Rising Star. In fact, it's in the new series too. We created our own characters. We had bands who were rivals the way that Prince and the Time, were rivals in the movie, and whatnot. And we created various characters, and Daron was a walk-on character in that. His very first appearance was essentially in a Purple Rain fanfic let's pretend game. And of course I had no idea at the time that this was a foundational character of mine, that he was going to come along and never leave, And at the time, actually, the scenario where he first appears, he's much older. It was sort of interesting because I didn't write a lot of much older characters. And by older, I mean, I was 16 and I think his character was turning 40. And I had the whole arc of his life sort of in his backstory, or what his life would have been in certain, if he hadn't figured some shit out. And then I thought, well, but when I write his actual life story, starting from when he's a teenager, he's going to have to figure some shit out. And of course, the world has changed. As the world has changed, as we've fought for and achieved, a certain measure of civil rights for LGBT people, for example, Daron's take on various things has changed. And, and he's grown up a lot. So, as opposed to being sort of, I don't know, in the Peter Pan state of just because you play music doesn't mean that you don't grow up. Reading a lot of rock autobiographies, of course, as I sometimes do, you might realize that some guys don't grow up, but some of them do, or they do in some ways and not others, and, so forth and so on. I think you guys have probably heard me talk before about Duff McKagan's autobiography, which is, it's a fantastic book. And he just came out with a second book called How to Be a Man or something, but the one before that is it's called, It's So Easy and Other Lies. It's So Easy is a Guns N' Roses song. Fantastic book. It's a great book, even if you are not into Guns N' Roses, which honestly, I was not into Guns N' Roses. I sort of missed Guns somehow, where like they came along right when I stopped paying attention to rock and roll for a brief period of time. And then they had burned out and were gone before I got back into it, which is, so because they really had this very short, fast burn and then they imploded. So that's why it's so interesting to see them coming back around now. It's just, and how about the whole business where it's like, so they finally, 20 years later, decided they can all be in a room together and, play music together, and they're playing at Coachella and whatnot like that. And then now Axl Rose is going to take over for Brian Johnson of AC/DC, who has had to get off the road because his doctors basically told him, you're going to go totally deaf if you perform live anymore. And he's like, I can still record, but I cannot perform live anymore or I will lose my hearing completely. And he's had to, 36 years or something, right, with AC/DC. And he's like, so they're like, we've got tour dates. What are we going to do? They need someone else with star power who can sing like that. Axl Rose is free, so it's just like, I don't know. And, I think 30 years ago, that would have been like, I don't know, it would have been weird for it to be like the lead singer from another band is just gonna, I don't know. Whereas now it's sort of, I don't know, you've got Adam Lambert and Queen, and, it's like the guys in Queen are like, we're in for it as long as Adam is willing to keep going, kind of a thing. Or Journey, who have a new singer, and they're like, once this kid's done, we're done, but until then, carry on. So fascinating, totally fascinating. Just a interesting development, but so talk a little bit about the importance of Prince. So most of you know that after David Bowie died, I essentially didn't stop crying until I wrote that flash forward chapter about Ziggy. And when Ziggy finally stopped crying, I stopped crying. And which was almost a week later, 4 days later, something like that. And it was just, my heart still didn't beat properly for over a whole week. I literally almost went to the emergency room one day, the day after. And it was funny because I got email from Paula, who some of you know, Paula Coots, the author of Another Rockstar, who is also a Daron fan, saying that she went to the hospital with heart problems. And I said, I literally went home from work and I said, if my heart rate does not normalize in the next hour, I'm going to the emergency room. And I managed to, like, through meditation and listening to music, finally bring it to something resembling a normal beat. It was, and that's the thing, is that listening to the music was the most therapeutic thing. I thought it would hurt more, but especially with Bowie, that last album was clearly, he knew we would all be listening to that when he was dead. So it was strangely comforting. And then of course I've watched 1 billion Prince videos today. Okay, not 1 billion, maybe only 500 million because I had to work. But I did, look at quite a few, and my favorite one is a live track from, it's on YouTube, from the Hall of Fame induction, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductions in 2004. And it's Tom Petty, Steve Winwood, Jeff Lynne, and a bunch of other guys, all playing While My Guitar Gently Weeps, which is, of course, one of my and Daron's favorite songs of all time. And Prince plays the guitar solo, starting at about, it's like a 6-minute long song, and or right around 3.5 minutes. And the funny thing is, they don't even show him in the video until like minute 2, where he's standing all the way off to the edge, and he's just, playing along with the rest of them. And then it's a solo from there to the end. It's like a 3-minute long guitar solo, one of the better guitar solos I've ever heard. And it's fascinating and interesting in that he's totally original. It's totally Prince, and yet you can hear the intense references to the way George Harrison played. And even if you can't hear it because you're not that familiar with George Harrison, it's just a fucking great guitar solo. So, if you're only going to see one Prince video today, Daron and I recommend this one. You can find it on YouTube. Just search for like Tom Petty, Prince, While My Guitar Slowly Weeps, and you'll find it. And it's an official video from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So it's nice recording and nicely. It's not somebody's like cell phone kind of a thing. But Prince is right up there, obviously, for me with David Bowie. Not only because the genesis of Daron comes literally out of having seen Purple Rain, which is a guitar album, really. But Prince's whole career, then, moving forward from that point, not only did he challenge genre divisions, challenge gender divisions, he had the whole battle with his record company. I mean, it wasn't until 1996 that the break finally came where he changed his name, and a lot of that was because of the record company holding the rights to the name of Prince, and his whole thing of saying working for a record company is a form of slavery. They own the master recordings, they own this, that, the other, and he didn't get those master recordings till 2 years ago. In 2014, finally got the rights to all of his masters. And can you imagine if he hadn't done that and had died before that? It's like it's a weird industry, to say the least. You've heard me say that before. The music industry is very, very strange. But Prince did not fit in a box musically, and I don't fit in a box writing-wise a lot of the time. I've done a lot of genres. I've done a lot of things. So there's a lot of ways in which, and I'll know probably by now that music in the writing is representative of the creative muse in all media. So I feel like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not expressing it as well as I should because it's so deep, trying to get it to come up. Of course, the way I usually figure this stuff out is by writing it, and of course, just talking extemporaneously, I haven't quite figured it out. But it's, and I'm going to be figuring David Bowie out for the rest of my life. I'm going to be figuring Prince out for the rest of my life. And when it comes to what they meant is, I don't know. I mean, this is why religion takes so much study, because there's so much there. I mean, because we're talking about the depths of the human heart, the depth that you will never get to the bottom. You can always dig. You can always dig deeper. You can always dig deeper in the soul. So there's always going to be more. But let's see. Do you guys have any questions? Yep. I saw one thing today. One of the reports basically said that the journalists who were covering, there's a gaggle of news people covering it outside Paisley Park now, and they're all hugging each other. It's like even the journalists are, it's all right. I have to stop talking about this or I'm going to cry, and then my eyeliner will run. But yeah, it's an immeasurable loss, and yet, I mean, human life always has to end. So yeah, I don't know. Listen to the music. I mean, listen to the music and make art our ultimately the only two, what's the word I'm trying to think of, you guys? I know I'm supposed to be the word person. I'm supposed to be the one who remembers the words. The only two cures for the pain, are listen to the music and make art, be creative for yourself. And I mean, the other parallel between Prince and David Bowie, talk about two people who couldn't be imitated, were so unbelievably original, and were at the very top of their profession. I mean, you can't get bigger. And everyone tells you, no matter what creative art you're in, that, although the creative advice is always, oh, well, do your own thing and whatever, but then commercially they're always telling you, no, be like this other thing, do this other thing, be accessible, be this, be that, and that's the struggle is, how do you be a unique, creative flower, snowflake without, and still have them support you. And, and they both had famous disagreements with their management and with their record companies and, so forth and so on. And they stuck by it and they won. Not everyone does. I mean, that's the question, is that we remember them because they did rise to the top of their professions, to be the biggest rock stars in the world, to affect millions and millions of people. But what about the ones who didn't make it? And was it because they weren't as good? Or were they just not as lucky? Or were they just not as, don't know. I mean, someone has to rise to the top. But it's, yeah, I don't know. And it's just amazing to have them both in the same, in the same short span of time. I feel like winter still isn't over here. And it's just been like, who did somebody describe it earlier? The reaping, and Alan Rickman and three different guys in Negativland. And I mean, if you want to go into obscure music somewhat, yeah, there's been a lot going on, but, let's see. You guys, any more other questions, though, is the other thing I should ask. I usually give something away to a questioner, so if you are asking, I'll take all the names of people who have asked questions and put them into a drawing. What I didn't pick was what I should give away. Since we're doing a Kickstarter, it's sort of like, people are already getting a bunch of stuff by getting rewards and whatnot, so I'm like, what can I give that would be sort of unique and whatever? But, I mean, I guess your choice of the individual paperbacks, maybe? Or, I don't know, I have weird Cecilia Tan swag of different kinds. That I don't know. I guess a swag pack, and if you're already supporting Kickstarter, but you haven't picked one of the levels where you get all the things, I'll give you all the things, all the tattoos, all the pens, whatever, blah, 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 and my other tchotchke and whatnot. So ask some more questions. And here it is 9:40, so we've only got about 20 minutes left. I will, how about this? I'll do the reading, and then I've still got a couple of questions on here on my sheet that I haven't answered yet. And then we'll check Kickstarter donations, see where we are, whatnot like that. But all right, now where did I go? All right, so I thought I'm going to read a little bit from the Los Angeles section of Daron's life. This is where he's living with Jonathan. He's doing a lot of gigs, fill-in gigs at studios and whatnot, and he's quickly picked up a reputation as someone who can play most styles of music, doing a lot of different stuff. And he does that one gig where he says he can't say the name of the band, and the guitarist was injured, and so he literally has to go in and play this guy's parts in the, like they're running out of time and money to record this album, and who knows, maybe the guy wasn't any good anyway, but I don't know. But, so this is during that time. And as usual, this is from Daron's point of view. To get back to the story about the guitarist who broke his wrist in the swimming pool. Chris and Lacey arrived shortly after the gig ended, and we got together with them for dinner at some swanky place Lacey picked. That was fine, though I always felt whenever I had a moderately fancy dinner that Bart should have been there. Afterward, we went to a celebrity hotspot for some kind of schmooze fest. I don't remember what it was now, someone's birthday, or the release party for their self-help tape, or the announcement of their new deal with William Morris. It doesn't matter what. If it had been someone I knew, maybe it would have stuck, but it was someone Lacey's agent knew, and apparently Chris and I were still considered A-list. I wasn't surprised about that. I mean, our videos were still getting played, and our pictures were still appearing in magazines, and it wasn't like anyone but us knew that we were on our record company's shit list. So the hotspot was a kind of dance club with a nightclub room in the back of a restaurant. It had a dance floor and lots of alcovey booths. It was supposedly hard to get into normally, but this was a party, and I was never clear on whether everyone was there for the party or just some of the people. It doesn't matter. What matters is that at one point, Lacey grabbed me, literally, and placed me in front of her so her back was to the wall and my back was to the room. Lacey, what the hell? Act like you're talking to me until that creep goes away. What creep? Don't turn around! He'll give up and go away if I look busy. Normally this is Chris's job, but he's in the men's room. She seemed really anxious. Okay, does this happen a lot? Depends. She took a deep breath and smoothed her hair. There's always some guy who can't control himself when he gets this close to a 10. A 10? Oh, I get it. 10 is in that Bo Derek movie. Should I try to get Jonathan over here too? No! If he thinks I'm talking to a group, he'll try to horn in. Trust me, just stand where you are. Okay. Anything to help a woman in need. She frowned at me then, giving me one of those sour fruit faces. Oh yeah, right. Wait, what did I do now? You just asked me to stand here, and I'm standing here. Didn't you just make an album for... Insert name of guitar player here. Yeah, what about it? Oh, come on, you don't actually believe that I fell in the pool story, do you? She crossed her arms and glared at me. I heard he was high as a kite when it happened. Why, is there more to the story? You could say that, like why his falling into the pool landed his girlfriend in the hospital. I didn't even know he had a... Mandy Killington, why the hell do you think I'm here? It was kind of loud in there between the music and everyone trying to out-schmooze each other, and I thought, did I miss something? Lacey, slow down. I have no idea what you're talking about. That's always your excuse, isn't it? Listen to how often you say that. That's because you're batshit crazy, I thought, but I didn't say. Nonetheless, who is Andy Kingston, and why are you here? Mandy Killington. She's a model. She was supposed to do a shoot this week, but she can't because her face is disfigured. I started to get that sinking feeling. Don't get me wrong, I'm a realist when it comes to how badly people can treat each other, but sometimes you get the feeling something is really ugly. From something that happened a month ago? Yes, that's how bad it is. What did he do? He beat her, you dummy. Okay, no, I get that. I mean, never mind. I tried to get back to the logical thread of the conversation. So, you're here to do the shoot in her place? That's right. And if you think that it's right that a guy can wreck a woman's career by wrecking her face, you're wrong, mister. Whoa, wait a second. When did I say that? You're an enabler. Without you, his career would be in the toilet. What? Lacey, I don't even know the guy. A producer hired me. Excuses. You're one excuse after another. No wonder Corinne is fed up with you. Corinne is what? Listen to me. You're not talking sense. If I don't do it, the producer just hires Steve Vai or some other guitar player to fill in. It's not like I took the job because I have a personal connection. I'd never even met the guy. Is he nice? She demanded. Was he nice to you? Not particularly, no. He didn't even come to the studio most of the time. I met him a couple of times. It dawned on me finally that probably none of the injuries had anything to do with the swimming pool. He had a black eye too. See? So they had a fight, Lacey. Lots of lovers have fights. You are so trying to justify the actions of your friend. We're not friends. I'm just saying that's all I know. How do you know he battered her? Does he have a record? See? No one ever believes the victim. You took that guy's money to save his ass when he deserves to burn in hell for what he did. You're not part of the solution. You're part of the problem. Okay. I had had it by then with her pat therapist sayings and her constant digs at me and my lack of psychological savvy. In other words, she was pissing me off. Oh, is this about money? Is this about money, Lacey? She thrust her chin at me, which I took to mean yes. If I've got blood on my hands, so do you. You're taking her gig. When are you going to donate that money to a battered women's shelter, huh? Hey, don't tell me how to run my career. You don't know anything about it. No shit. But here, how's this? You pick the charity, I'll donate every cent I made on that gig if you do the same. How's that for putting my money where my mouth is, If you really believe everything you're saying, you'll do it. You're infuriating. You're only saying that so you can say you won the argument. You're the one who picked this fight in the first place. What's it going to be, Lacey? Put up or shut up? That was when she went bonkers and attacked me. Her fists were small but hard. Remember that in her heels she was probably a whole foot taller than me. She got me once in the face before I grabbed her by the arm, and then Chris came to the rescue and grabbed her from behind, and then someone who was adept at celebrity wrangling hurried me out of public view. A club security guy. They had a backroom production office or something. I had them grab Jonathan and bring them to me while they gave me an ice pack to put on my cheekbone, where she'd really whacked me. The club security guy here was more like a member of the Secret Service than like Antonio and his crew. Suit and a collared shirt. He was white. The conversation went something like this. Security guy. How are you feeling, Mr. Marks? Me. I'm fine, really. I don't think I need ice. Security guy. Are you in need of medical attention? Or any other form of official attention? Me. I don't need a doctor, if that's what you mean. Security guy. We'd just like to know if you'll be reporting this to any other officials. Me. Blank. Jonathan. You mean, do we need to involve the police? Security guy. For obvious reasons. We'd like to maintain discretion. Me. Oh, for fuck's sake, so would we. You've got to be kidding me, like I'm going to charge Lacey Montaigne with assault? I'm fine. Really? Security guy. May I take an official statement from you to that effect? Sure? Jonathan. I think he means repeat yourself to prove you really mean it. Me. Aha. So, I promised them I wasn't pressing any charges or anything like that, and we snuck out and went home. So, there we go, a little reading. Alright, anybody got more questions? When will you know if you're done with Daron's story? So, I've been asked this before, and I've thought about it myself a lot. I don't know when I'll be done. All I know is that we'll know when we get there. I think I'll feel it, you guys will feel it, we'll know when we reach the end. I have certain things that are supposed to happen that have not happened yet. When we run out of those, either Daron will still be yammering at me and saying, no, that's not it, then there's this other thing and there's this other thing, or he'll be saying, it's done, I think we'll feel it. We'll know when we get there. I know what... I just feel when we get to the end, we'll know. So, and it might not be for quite a while. I mean, as you can see, 2 weeks in his world takes like 2 months in our world. So, right, if not longer. Oh, look, and someone just texted me also. When Daron talks to you, what age do you see him as? So when Daron talks to me, he's my age. He's telling me about what it was like. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't still have, even at this age, a certain amount of denial about things that were going on. And I think most of you have figured out that there are these different layers of the story. So there's the layer he's telling, which is a reminiscent telling, right? Where he's saying, oh, this is how it was then. And then there's a layer where it's things he's figuring out as he's telling it, as well as things he's talking about having figured out then. So it's like there's kind of 2 layers there, and then there's probably a 3rd layer that I'm forgetting on top of that. Well, and then there's the layer where he discusses things with you guys in comments, which does affect not what happens in the story, but the way he explains it. So, that kind of thing. If he's like, I think maybe people are not getting it. Or if he's like, oh shit, I forgot to tell people something, then it appears later. Yeah, so yeah, Daron is my age, because he and I are basically the same age. I keep thinking that we were born in the same year, and one of the reasons my math is wrong in a couple of places is because actually he's born the year after me, year-wise, so I'm 1967 and he's 1968, which is interesting because, if it had been 1967, I would have accidentally given him Kurt Cobain's birthday. Yeah. Before Kurt Cobain was famous. So now you all know when Daron's birthday is. Only a few of you knew when that was before. Now you can have a way of looking it up. But not the same year as Kurt, the year after. I think I think. I'm not good with numbers, but yeah, Daron doesn't like people to know when his birthday is because he doesn't like birthdays. It doesn't, I don't know, feel like that's a legitimate reason for people to pay attention to him. He has other reasons why he wants people to pay attention to him that are under his control, I guess. So one of the questions I got earlier, what instrument is Daron going to learn next? That's a good question, actually. Can I tell you that without spoiling anything? So Daron is always learning new instruments, but not learning them. I mean, sometimes he picks stuff up and figures it out and plays with it and whatever. He's certainly going to keep doing more with computers and keyboards and whatnot, because there's a lot of interesting stuff at that point that's going on. He's going to fool around with the mandolin and whatever. I mean, he did a little bit when they were on tour with the tour to Japan and whatnot. I don't remember if he mentions that, but he plays around with a couple folk instruments along that trip. And then Remo's got a house full of instruments. I don't know if I've really impressed on you how many things are lying around in that studio and whatnot. And like the mandolin is kind of fun, and this, that, and the other. And if you can play the mandolin, you can play the Irish four-string banjo. You can play, there's a whole bunch of other things that are. The mandolin is tuned the same way the violin is. So then, if you can learn to blow a violin, you can play the violin. It's like there's all these things that are sort of related. All these instruments that are related, and you go from one to the other to the other. And I've never gone to the violin, but I myself learned to play the mandolin and the Irish tenor banjo and whatnot. Of course, Daron's current thing that he's trying to develop, as those of you who are caught up in the story, is he's working on his voice, which he has been avoiding working on for a long time. And, I'm sure that that's something that he'll talk about in upcoming chapters as to why did he, why was he not interested in developing his voice? And once it's pointed out to him, like, but you do sing, and even if you're just going to sing backup the rest of your life, you have stuff that you've got to do, and you should be doing it to the best of your ability and not just, not the equivalent of tossing it in a drawer at the end of the night and throwing it away without polishing it, or, whatever you have to do to care for your instrument. This is an instrument, you need to care for it also, especially after all the crap he's given Ziggy about needing to take care of his voice. But let me check questions. Right. Has a comment ever set you on a path you didn't expect, like subconsciously? Has a comment ever sent us down a path I didn't intend to go down? Probably. Although I'm not thinking of an example at the moment, but it's usually more of a feeling, sort of a general feeling where, Daron will say to me, like, hey, do you realize that, nobody said anything about this or whatever? And he and I really did have a bet as to which one of you was going to call him out on how much he was drinking first, because he knew it would happen eventually. And, if any of you are doing a reread, you'll see how early the heavy drinking starts and how long it goes on, that he starts telling it before he starts telling you he was aware of it. So, because remember, it's a reminiscent story, so he can tell you stuff without calling your attention to it. And then there are things that he wasn't aware of at the time, so he recreates that by slipping things in without, saying a lot about it. And then there are things where he just goes on and on about things where he's like, and this was where I figured out the following thing, whatever. So yeah. Yes. Let's see. We're coming up on time, actually. So anybody want to check the Kickstarter? How's it doing? I think, I don't think that we've reached our 3,000 level, so Daron will not chat with you guys tonight, but he'll probably do a chat at the end of to wrap up the whole Kickstarter, maybe, if not right away next week, possibly the week after, because he likes to chat with you guys. And there are always milestones coming up where he'll come up with excuses to chat with you guys. Let's see, was there anything else I needed to tell you guys? I don't think so. Kickstarter ends in 7 days, so it actually ends on Friday afternoon, so it's now a Thursday, but Kickstarter counts that as 7 days. So spread the word if you've got friends who are interested in, getting started, whatever. One of the really low price rewards is your choice of any ebook. Everybody's going to get the book 1 free because that's a perma-free book anyway. So anyone who's a backer who hasn't already read all the ebooks will be getting book 1 free, and then they can pick book 2 if they want, or they can take Spanish Nights or whatnot if they don't want to get completely sucked in and they just want to taste. So I think for $1 you can have your choice, that kind of a thing. But then you get updates and whatnot like that. And then I think for $5 you get any ebook, and I can't remember all the different levels. So there's stickers, there's bumper stickers, there's etc. Whatnot like that. So let's see. Let me check my notes. Okay, I think I did actually say. I think I said all the things I was supposed to say. So now I have a couple minutes to say whatever I want to say. Right. Let's see. I'm not very far ahead in the writing right now. Like I said, I try to stay about 2 weeks ahead, but there was that while where you guys were filling up the tip jar every week for like 4 weeks in a row, I think it was. And so any forward log that I had done has been all that backlog was streamed out during that. So, and what's amazing to me is that here we are during the Kickstarter, where I think I read like $85 something in the tip jar. So it's like, oh my goodness. So another bonus chapter will be coming. I didn't expect to get anything really into the tip jar during the Kickstarter. I figured everybody's going to donate. It's just going to put their money right in there. But there are still people who are like, nope, here you go. It's like, okay, I won't say no. I won't say no to money. I will write more. It's like the, what was it? They used to have the commercial that was, it's okay if you eat all of our whatever or buy all of our whatever because we'll make more. It's like, yes, I'll just make more. It's okay. I'm looking forward to fulfilling some of the reward levels on there are things like get a personalized postcard sent from Ziggy or from Daron from the road, and whatnot. So those are going to be kind of fun to do. I never know what Ziggy's going to write, especially when he sits down with a pen in his hand. I never know what's going to come out. Sometimes he draws something. Sometimes it's a poem. Sometimes it's, just a, whatever, dirty limerick. You don't know from him. Whatnot like that. So, and likewise, there's one of the things is a lyric sheet from one of the two of them you can choose, and it's the sheet out of their notebook has other notes on it, phone numbers, whatever. Just sometimes you just don't know what these guys are going to do. So, so have fun with those. I'm going to have fun with them certainly. And, all right, I'm going to say goodnight because we're coming up on 1 hour and, YouTube likes things to be in a 1 hour chunk. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you ever want to see other stuff. Most of it's cat videos with the occasional Adam Lambert, whatever. Who knows? I make videos as I go around the world. It's much easier to follow me on Instagram if you just want to see the very, very short things and lots of food pictures and cat pictures. That's most of what it is. Follow me on Twitter if you want more politics and, writing news, and follow me on Facebook if you want more of the same, whatnot like that. And you can follow Daron and not me on Facebook and Twitter if you just want the Daron stuff, whatnot like that. And of course, there's the Daron Moondog fans email list that if you go to daron.ceciliatan.com, you can sign up on, and I send news to it about once a month, just saying like, here's what's going on with the serial, here's where we are with this, here's when the next book release is going to be. The next ebook released is going to be book 9. So the Kickstarter is books 6 and 7, but in ebooks we're all the way up to book 9. So I'm working on the cover design for that. I'm taking requests for bloggers who want, or just regular people, if you want to review it on Amazon or on Goodreads, drop me a note. I've got a little form you can fill out. Just fill in your email address and whatever, and I'll be sending those out once I have the cover design. I won't send out review copies, obviously, till I have that. And reviews always help. Reviews really, really, really help. There are some kinds of promo that you cannot do if your book doesn't have a minimum of 10 reviews, things like that. So, yeah, it's super helpful. But thanks for being with me tonight, guys. And, again, so sorry about Prince. It's, but like you said, it's that thing called life, and you just got to get through it, right? So, thanks for being here with me, and I'll see you guys around the internet, right?